Robots created by humans have gone out of control and declared war on humanity. In the near future, humanity has made incredible technological advances, virtually eliminating all ailments. With unlimited resources at their disposal, scientists have created a town called Sweetwater, a Wild West paradise that anyone with money can immerse themselves in. Here, hosts are androids programmed with specific scripts they must follow. Minimal improvisation is allowed, but their sole purpose is to entertain guests by immersing them in an alternate reality where they can do anything they want. Dolores Abernathy is a simple girl from Sweetwater who is a host sticking to her script. She wakes up in the morning, says goodbye to her father, and heads into town, planning to leave its boundaries to work on a painting. At the same time, Teddy, another host, arrives in town on a train with real people, who are diving into a world of wild adventures and boundless freedom. Ignoring the sheriff and his offer to help capture a criminal, Teddy heads to the nearest saloon with available women. Clementine offers to spend the night with him, but Teddy isn't used to paying for pleasure. Maeve, who manages the easily accessible women, points out that men always end up paying for female attention. The only difference here is that customers see the price right on the door. Noticing Dolores, a smitten Teddy rushes to her and asks her to go for a walk. After spending time together, the pair returns to the farm and notices that the animals are not penned up but are roaming freely. Realizing something might have happened to Dolores's father, Teddy rushes to the house and encounters two criminals. They have killed Dolores's parents in search of easy money and are soon dispatched themselves. Following Teddy back to the farm, Dolores finds her parents' bodies and mourns them when the man in black appears. He claims he is already familiar with Dolores, though she doesn't remember him. Confronted by the suspicious man, Teddy shoots at him, but since the host can't harm a guest, the man in black remains unharmed. Annoyed by the persistent cowboy, he eliminates Teddy and then takes Dolores by force. The scientists who run the Wild West world create everything, from hosts to animals and buildings that fill their town. Between scripts, their best specialists check the hosts and improve their quality to make the androids less distinguishable from humans, providing guests with a full immersion experience. Bernard and Elsie are calibrating Clementine and notice unusual movements not characteristic of androids. It turns out that the founder and lead scientist, Robert Ford, has implemented the latest update, featuring a dreams program that causes hosts to remember their past lives and exhibit movements they previously did not have. Soon, Bernard learns about issues with one of the hosts. Going with security to a restricted underground floor meant for storing decommissioned androids, he meets Ford. The old man likes to take a break from his duties and have a drink with an old host, finding him a pleasant conversationalist. Ordering the cowboy to lie down in a body bag, Ford explains more about the dreams, believing they will not cause problems and will delight the guests. A new day begins, with hosts repeating their usual actions, but every step of a visitor alters their plans. Teddy planned to meet Dolores again, but he's stopped by tourists who demand a tour. Dolores encounters the man in black, who she doesn't remember from the previous night. The man in black has different plans, so he lets Dolores leave the town to work on another landscape painting. Meanwhile, he heads to a bar, plays poker, and then takes one of the players captive, believing he has valuable information. Two visitors decide to join the hunt for the criminal Hector Escaton, but the sheriff starts glitching, so they return to town. Soon, the sheriff is brought to the lab for a checkup to determine his suitability for continued use. It turns out that due to the recent updates, his programming is off, requiring a more detailed analysis and bug fixing. In the evening, another host goes out of control. Drunk, the criminal starts shooting wildly, killing dozens of random androids. A team of programmers is immediately sent to the scene to halt the scenario, remove the criminal, and send him for diagnostics. Seeing the issue becoming more apparent to the visitors, Bernard and Teresa decide to recall the updated hosts to check each for possible errors. They assign Sizemore to create a new script that will safely remove several hundred androids. Ford acknowledges that he may have made a mistake with the Dreams program but believes that errors are a driving force of progress and sometimes are necessary. The man in black interrogates the poker player, trying to find a unique secret level of the game about which little is known. He wants to reach the end of the game but doesn't know where the entrance to this special level is. Not getting an answer, the man in black scalps the man, hoping to find a map hidden there to guide him. Meanwhile, Peter, driven mad by a photograph of the real world, begs his daughter to escape the farm quickly. Concerned, Dolores rushes into town to find a doctor, but Hector arrives as well. Following Sizemore's new script, Hector creates a brutal shootout to remove defective hosts. The script doesn't fully work, as Hector is shot in the neck by a visitor looking to make a name for themselves. During the shootout, Teddy protects Dolores and is shot in the back, while Elsie deactivates Dolores for inspection. In the lab, another defective host requiring Bernard and Ford's attention is reported. This host turns out to be Peter, Dolores' father, who has lost his sanity due to the photograph of the real world. The scientists are intrigued by the unusual case, as the farmer is behaving out of script. When he meets his creator, Peter delivers a chilling monologue full of Shakespearean quotes and claims that Ford is imprisoned by his own sins. Meanwhile, Ashley checks Dolores and discovers that her father had only said one phrase to her. The wild emotions have an unrelenting end. Dismissing this, they erase Dolores' memory and return her to the park. Everything seems normal, but unlike before, when hosts cause no harm, Dolores now swats a pesky fly with deadly intent. Guests continue to arrive at the park, eager to experience all the pleasures of the Wild West world. Among the new visitors are Logan and William. Logan is no stranger to this place, while William is a modest and shy man who disapproves of his companion's frivolous behavior. Meanwhile, Elsie suspects that the malfunction with Dolores's father is not a coincidence but the beginning of something more. She doesn't rule out that someone might have intentionally tampered with the host's settings to cause disruption, but Bernard is reluctant to believe that such a thing is possible. At the same time, Dolores begins to experience strange visions. Standing still in the middle of the street, she sees a completely different place filled with blood and corpses. Maeve brings her back to her senses and asks her to move away from the bar so Dolores isn't mistaken for one of the women of ill repute. Dolores responds with the phrase, "The wild emotions have an unrelenting end," and soon Maeve herself starts experiencing visions of past lives. The man in black is searching for Lawrence, who is being prepared for hanging. Seeing Lawrence as a crucial link in finding the maze, the man in black executes the sheriff and his entourage, then takes Lawrence prisoner and leads him away to an unknown location. They soon arrive in a town where Lawrence has been hiding his wife and daughter. Knowing almost everything about this world, the man in black demands to know how to find the secret level but does not get the desired information. Lawrence's gang surrounds him, but the visitor is not afraid of bullets as they cannot harm him. After eliminating the entire gang, he executes Lawrence's wife and eventually obtains useful information from his daughter before continuing his journey. In the evening, Maeve increasingly succumbs to painful memories related to past lives. Fearing that her behavior might cause problems, park staff decide to modify her behavioral model, doubling her aggression. Later, Bernard decides to speak with Dolores privately and requests that all records of their meeting be deleted. The recent adjustments do not improve Maeve's condition, which continues to worsen. Noticing this, park employees decide to decommission Maeve and replace her with the younger and more attractive Clementine. Upon arriving at the park, William behaves with restraint and shows interest in all the hosts. Logan explains that each host is part of a separate storyline designed to lure him in. Noticing the old man's gaze, Logan talks about treasures, but Logan is annoyed by the host's participation in the script. Trying to get rid of the annoying android, he injures its hand with a knife and then decides to entertain himself with the ever-compliant women of ill repute. In secret from the others, Ford visits the Wild West world, where he meets a carefree boy. He gives him a brief tour and shows him the unique capabilities that only the creator of this world could possess. In the evening, Bernard and Teresa spend time together, discussing the hosts, their behavior, and actions. Working in competing departments, the pair reach an understanding, clearly aware that something suspicious is happening with the androids, but they do not yet comprehend the cause or the consequences of it all. Maeve is recalled for diagnostics by Elsie, but she doesn't notice anything suspicious. After resetting Maeve to her original state and adjusting some parameters, Maeve returns to her role as the bar administrator. Maeve remains ruthless and coldly observes as Teddy becomes the victim of another visitor. At the same time, Maeve continues to suffer from memories and hallucinations. In one of these so-called dreams, Maeve sees herself as a happy wife and mother, but their home is attacked by native people. Witnessing her husband's execution firsthand, she tries to protect her daughter but is confronted by the man in black. Upon waking, Maeve finds herself on an operating table in the lab. Defending herself with a scalpel, she tries to escape and ends up on the other side of the Wild West world. Here, she encounters the production facilities, rooms with the bodies of hosts, and other horrifying scenes that chill her to the bone. Technicians suspect that Maeve was accidentally left active and, after catching her, administer a sedative injection. Meanwhile, Dolores also begins to act strangely and, while out for a walk, discovers a revolver buried in the ground. Sizemore presents a new, particularly brutal storyline, but Ford mocks his plans. Ford believes that something more is needed and tells Bernard about a mysterious project he's working on, which centers around a chapel with a cross located in the wastelands. At the same time, William meets Dolores and realizes that she is exactly what he was hoping to find in this world. William finds himself at the center of events when Teddy arrests a criminal who tries to escape. After executing a few people, the criminal takes Clementine hostage, and William is forced to engage in a gunfight to save her. Elsie reports another deviation from the script. Walter, whom they had previously detained, has killed 6 people, but he did so intentionally. He targeted only those who had taken his life in previous assignments, as if seeking revenge and retaining memories of those events. At the same time, it's revealed that a woodcutter has escaped, and Elsie, along with Ashley, must track him down and capture him. In another shootout, Teddy executes another criminal. At the bar, he encounters Maeve, who remembers seeing his corpse previously in the lab. Later, Teddy meets Dolores and informs her that he must embark on another dangerous journey. Dolores suggests abandoning their work and running away together, but Teddy's sense of duty prevents him from agreeing. He promises that they will be happy in the future but insists he must continue his work and punish the criminals roaming free. In the evening, the couple returns to the farm and once again falls victim to the criminals who attacked Dolores' parents. Dr. Ford decides to give Teddy a new backstory due to his guilt, although the script for these events has not been written. Ford plans to involve the former soldier in a new storyline where his sergeant betrayed his oath and executed civilians. Wyatt has now become a dangerous criminal, and Teddy must join a small team to hunt him down. Before doing this, Teddy defends Dolores from the criminals and teaches her how to shoot a revolver. Dolores is afraid to pull the trigger and is held back by something. She again suggests fleeing, but the sheriff insists Teddy join the group and search for Wyatt. Ashley and Elsie locate a group lost in the wasteland. Using surveillance cameras, the lab staff track the woodcutter and find him at a small ravine at night. Elsie deactivates the host so Ashley can retrieve its head, but the woodcutter unexpectedly comes to and begins to defend himself. Escaping the trap, he does not attack the defenseless woman but finds a rock, uses it to smash his head, and ends his own life. Teddy, the sheriff, and a group of volunteers discover the mutilated bodies of Wyatt's gang. It soon becomes clear that this is a trap, and they come under fire. Some of the group returns to town for reinforcements, while Teddy, the sheriff, and their assistant head toward the enemy. That night, Teddy and his small team continue their journey, but they soon fall into an ambush. They try to split up and escape, but ultimately, all three are eliminated. Bernard informs Ford that malfunctioning androids are recalling someone named Arnold and seem to be communicating with him. Ford believes this is impossible, as Arnold was his former colleague who lost his life in the park. Arnold had intended to awaken consciousness in the androids, turning them into fully fledged humans, but their purpose was different. Ford abandoned this idea because people needed entertainment and the ability to do whatever they wanted, completely controlling the hosts. Soon, Bernard decides to speak with Dolores again and realizes her behavior is changing. He could correct the errors but deliberately refrains from doing so, as he believes errors are a form of evolutionary progress necessary for androids. Upon returning to the farm, Dolores is once again attacked by bandits, but this time, she defends herself and executes the criminal who tried to take her by force, before escaping and joining Logan and William. Dolores joins William on his dangerous quest to capture Slim. Logan reminds his friend that this is all just a game and suggests that Dolores' appearance is no accident. Perhaps the overseers are watching them and provided her to spice up the plot. Maeve continues to experience increasingly terrifying and detailed visions. At one point, she sees a visitor start shooting and killing almost everyone present, including herself. Afterward, creepy people in protective suits revive her at the bar but forget to remove a bullet. Back in the current storyline, Maeve looks in a mirror and doesn't see any scars on her body, questioning whether this is reality or if she's slowly going mad. She draws a picture of a lab technician and tries to hide it in the attic, only to find a bunch of similar drawings and realize that this story has repeated with her before. The man in black continues his search for the snake that lays eggs and spots Amistad with a snake tattoo. The woman and her gang meet a suspicious man with aggression, but he shows his dominance and willingness for extreme actions. Learning that the gang spots are filled, he executes 2 members to take their places. That night, the man in black asks Amistad to tell the story behind her tattoo, promising to do any task she asks of him. She requests the release of Hector, who is imprisoned nearby. The next morning, the man in black surrenders to the local sheriff, who recognizes Lawrence. As the man in black heads into a cell with Hector, Lawrence is once again about to be executed. The man in black orchestrates Hector's escape and kills everyone to save Lawrence once more. Amistad then reveals that her parents were executed by a gang she sought revenge against. The only survivor is the gang leader, symbolized by the snake, named Wyatt. Park employees notice that Dolores is out of her designated area and is breaking script. They try to intervene, but William defends her, preventing them from taking her back to the farm. In a different town, Dolores sees a girl drawing a maze in the sand. At that moment, she experiences painful memories from her past life, increasingly realizing that she is not who she thinks she is. That evening, her intense hallucinations related to her memories continue, but William helps her regain her composure. Dolores firmly believes she's on the right path and wants to keep exploring the world, which she views as a maze where she can find a way out and gain freedom. Meanwhile, Teresa visits Dr. Ford and learns about large-scale construction in the park's restricted area. She tries to act confident and assertive, reminding him of the results needed for the board of directors. The scientist is not willing to take orders, as he knows far more than she can imagine. Ford is aware of Teresa's affair with Bernard, and moreover, she was a park visitor in her childhood, so he has a complete dossier on her, including her preferences and tastes. Ford is like a god in this world, capable of controlling not only the hosts but also people's fates, so it's best not to get in his way. Soon, William, Logan, and Dolores find the hideout of the criminal. Breaking into the bar and shooting everyone present, they capture Slim, who offers a meeting with his boss, El Lazo. Logan executes the henchman to join the bandits and create a new plot twist. William strongly opposes this but is persuaded by his friend to keep Dolores safe. Meanwhile, the man in black finds and frees the bleeding Teddy. Some time later, Hector carries out another raid on Sweetwater. Maeve, exhausted from her visions, is ready to hand over the safe but asks to be told about the Shadows, the technicians who service the hosts. As the staff changes the storyline, Hector removes a bullet from the girl's stomach, confirming her suspicions. Realizing they cannot die and return here again, the couple shares a passionate kiss, only to be shot through the closed door. Logan, William, and Dolores arrive in the city of Pariah, which is more dangerous and lively than Sweetwater. Dolores and William gradually become closer, understanding each other well. Logan is skeptical of their relationship, reminding his friend that Dolores is a host with programmed behavior. At one point, Dolores gets lost in the crowd and falls asleep. In the laboratory, she encounters Dr. Ford, who suspects her of cheating since she's an android created by the late Arnold. Meanwhile, the man in black realizes that Teddy won't survive due to excessive blood loss. Needing the help of a former soldier, the man in black executes Lawrence, using him for a blood transfusion. When Teddy wakes up, he refuses to cooperate with the mysterious stranger. Exploiting the host's trust, the man in black tells Teddy that Wyatt has kidnapped Dolores and needs to be rescued. Technicians continue working on the host corpses, repairing damage, removing bullets, and stitching wounds. When Maeve meets Felix again, he is frightened, but his partner calms him, explaining that it's just an android and poses no threat. Soon, Elsie arrives, scaring both of them, but she's not there to fire them. She investigates the body of a deceased woodcutter and finds an embedded transmitter. She informs Bernard that someone has been gathering information and sending it outside the park. The next morning, William, Logan, and Dolores finally meet the enigmatic criminal El Lazo, who turns out to be the new incarnation of the late Lawrence. He's distrustful of the strangers, but Dolores' strange visions help to smooth things over. El Lazo is willing to join the trio in their plans but requests an important task. The group, along with Slim, heads outside the city to meet an army transporting nitroglycerin. What was intended as a peaceful heist spirals out of control, leading William to shoot everyone present. That evening, Logan and William argue about William's insignificance in the real world, where he feels pathetic and powerless, only finding importance in the park. Meanwhile, Dolores accidentally ends up in a fortune teller's room and pulls a card with a maze on it. Trying to understand what's happening, she experiences hallucinations and talks to herself. Escaping the madness, Dolores sees El Lazo injecting nitroglycerin into corpses to steal it and substituting the explosive liquid with alcohol. She tells William about this, but he dismisses her as it seems like another scripted twist. Dolores convinces William of the reality of the situation, and at the same time, the military uncovers El Lazo's deception. Logan is captured and beaten, but the couple decides not to help him. Leaving their friend to fate, William and Dolores escape on a train. The military tries to stop them, but Dolores breaks all protocols and executes the hosts, allowing the couple to board the train and meet El Lazo. He's willing to cooperate and promises to reveal more, while Dolores realizes she's on the right track, as the grave bears the maze symbol. Some time later, the man in black and Teddy are in a cafe discussing their plans. Suddenly, Dr. Ford joins them, trying to understand the players' motives. The man in black wants to complete the maze in the game, so he won't stop at anything. He decides to attack Ford, but the host immediately stops him, protecting its creator. At the same time, Maeve finds herself back in the technician's room, but she's alive and merely pretending to be a corpse. Entering the world outside the park, Maeve wants to talk, seeking the truth about everything that's happening to her. Teddy and the man in black continue their journey together to capture Wyatt. They soon locate a camp of American soldiers guarding a tunnel that would shorten their path. After eliminating 2 soldiers, the man in black and Teddy try to sneak past, but one of the soldiers recognizes Teddy. It turns out that Teddy was not only a subordinate of Wyatt but also an accomplice in his crimes. Realizing they are trapped, the man in black and Teddy start fighting back, but the soldiers manage to capture them. Fearing the heated branding iron with the maze symbol, Teddy escapes and goes on a rampage, gunning down most of the soldiers with a shotgun. Meanwhile, Felix informs Maeve that she is an android, programmed by technicians from the upper floors. Maeve doesn't believe this, but the tablet already knows every word and action she will take. Realizing she's being manipulated in a world where nothing is real, Maeve starts glitching and eventually freezes. A few minutes later, she regains her composure and demands to see what's behind the scenes of the park. Sylvester exposes the assistant who got too involved with the host, but Maeve blackmails him, forcing him to side with her and keep a small secret. The technicians check Maeve's data and discover that her parameters have already been altered by someone. Despite this, Maeve insists they increase her intelligence and perception to the maximum. Elsie and Bernard realize that someone is transmitting data and attempting to discredit the park and its services. Bernard can check the data on host movements, as this is an old model without the modern systems of the latest androids. Going down to one of the underground levels, Bernard finds information on the deceased woodcutter and identifies 5 more hosts whose presence in the restricted sector is anomalous. Returning to the lab, Bernard tries to discuss the strange occurrences with Teresa, but she ignores him and suggests ending their relationship. Shortly after, Teresa meets the detached Sizemore and asks him to return to writing storylines, introducing him to Charlotte, the executive director of the board of directors. Dr. Ford continues constructing a new entertainment arena but refuses to demolish one of the old towns. Here, he notices the maze symbol, realizing that someone is playing his game by different rules. Back in his office, Dr. Ford studies the symbols and finds a similar one in Arnold's notebook. Bernard soon heads to the restricted area and discovers a house inhabited by a family of forgotten hosts. They attack and do not follow commands, but Ford arrives and saves his colleague. It turns out that the boy and his family living in the wasteland are a recreated version of Ford's own family. Meanwhile, Elsie finds a transmitter used to implant thoughts and instruct the hosts. She realizes that Teresa was behind this, but there are more serious issues, as someone else is secretly controlling the hosts. As Elsie tries to sort out the details, she suspects she's not alone in the room, but is attacked from behind. Bernard tries to focus on his work and the inspection of the hosts, discovering once again that they are not following their usual scripts. Repeating the same actions over and over, they begin to make mistakes, causing their responses and behavior to change. Bernard is concerned about Elsie's disappearance and tries to find her, but his colleagues say she has taken urgent leave, and her whereabouts are unknown. Meanwhile, William, El Lazo, and Dolores continue their dangerous journey. While traveling by train, they enter the territory of the Ghost Nation and reinforce the windows with metal to protect themselves. Alone, William decides to reveal the truth about himself. He has always loved books and dreamed of being part of an exciting story, which is why he enjoys this world. He also admits that Logan's sister is his fiancée, and he is supposed to marry her after returning from the park. Dolores takes this news tearfully, and William tries to comfort her, leading them to make love. The next morning, the couple does not regret what happened and spends more time together. Soon, the train stops because boulders have blocked the track ahead. It was expected that the Ghost Nation was behind this, but they are halted by Confederates, who open fire with buckshot and bombard the dining car. From the adjacent car emerges a rider with a white flag, symbolizing an attempt to surrender. Moments later, it becomes clear that it's Slim's corpse, rigged with nitroglycerin. El Lazo uses it to create an explosion, after which he, William, and Dolores attempt to escape. The Confederates pursue them, but they manage to evade capture thanks to Native Americans attacking the armed riders. Meanwhile, Charlotte reports that she likes Teresa's approach to work and that she won't be fired, unlike others. The board intends to remove Ford, but they need a brilliant plan to achieve this. During their brainstorming session, Charlotte and Teresa decide to use the modified androids created by Dr. Ford. They plan to create the impression that the host's dreams are dangerous and lead to unforeseen consequences. Stopping the storyline during the day, the technicians go after the android. Maeve sees them in the bar, grabs a knife, thinking she's been discovered, but it turns out they are there for Clementine. Later, Charlotte and Teresa invite Bernard and Ford to demonstrate the danger of the host's ability to remember parts of past events, or so-called dreams. They use Clementine for this, who is brutally beaten by a technician who is actually a host. After the beating, they erase her memory and restart the simulation. Recognizing her abuser and a client, Clementine attacks and kills him. Ashley tries to calm her, but she is aggressive and non-compliant, leading to her being terminated. This blunder is blamed on Ford, but removing him is not easy, so Bernard becomes the scapegoat, found guilty of the incident and immediately fired. Maeve returns to the technician and asks about Clementine's whereabouts. Felix helps her and leads her past the room where her friend is undergoing a lobotomy. Afterward, Maeve orders Felix and Sylvester to arrange her escape. Bernard tells Teresa that there is a flaw in the old androids, particularly those programmed by Arnold. Their behavior is increasingly strange and inexplicable, but this is not all the secrets Ford hides. Bernard suggests going upstairs and shows Teresa Ford's sanctuary, where his so-called family lived. Here, Teresa notices a door to a basement, where they find Ford's secret lab. It is revealed that Bernard is a host created by Ford. The doctor is not afraid of being fired because he is a god in this world with too much power. He controls everything and can destroy the world if anyone tries to stop him. Demonstrating this, Ford orders Bernard to eliminate Teresa. After everything that's happened, Bernard can't believe he's a host. The scientist had been endowed with a unique mind and unlimited capabilities. He lived in memories and didn't realize that all of this was a script, meticulously planned by his creator. Realizing what he did to Teresa, Bernard is furious and ready to attack Ford. But Ford stops him with a simple voice command. The Mad Doctor is convinced that losses are a normal part of the path to perfection and that they must accept this. Arnold went mad, unable to distinguish between humans and hosts, which led to his disappearance. Ford isn't ready for the same fate, so he asks Bernard to delete all evidence that could incriminate them. Meanwhile, Maeve continues to improve and evolve, increasingly understanding where the real world ends and the park with androids begins. As she remembers more of her past life, she finds herself in the technician's office more often, seeking further enhancements. Maeve realizes that every host has an explosive device between their vertebrae in case they go rogue and try to escape. Knowing this, she's prepared for major changes and demands that Felix and Sylvester help her. Maeve is an old model of androids and has a primitive tracking system that allows her to remain elusive. Before enacting her plan, Maeve needs to assemble an army, so she grants herself administrator privileges to control other hosts. As they continue their journey toward what might be the center of the maze, William and Dolores stop by a river. Here, they notice a group of broken Confederates, with only one soldier having survived. Dolores wants to help the injured soldier and collect water, but she sees her own dead body, which confuses her. After a while, William and Dolores find themselves in a place that Dolores had seen in her dreams. At one point, she sees a city populated by the first test androids, which then turns into sand-covered ruins. Dolores no longer understands where or when she is, not recognizing what is real and what isn't. At one point, she decides to end her life, but William stops her. In the evening, the pair continues their journey, but they are captured by Confederates led by Logan. Soon, park employees discover Teresa's body in the same canyon where they found the lost lumberjack. With her, they find a sensor and a storage device with important park information, suggesting that Teresa was a traitor leaking data for money. Apparently, she was careless and slipped, leading to her fatal fall. Charlotte doesn't believe this is possible but is forced to accept it and allow Bernard to return to his position, as the park's operations are nearly impossible without him and Teresa. Before Bernard returns to work, Ford erases his memory and recollections of his relationship with Teresa. Maeve wants to reprogram herself and asks to be taken to the appropriate department. Sylvester is afraid of the possible consequences and suggests to Felix that they agree to Maeve's request but only to reboot the host and erase her memory, resetting her parameters. Heading to the operating room, Felix and Sylvester prepare Maeve's body for new capabilities, warning her that a complete system reboot will be necessary. Unaware of their plan, Maeve agrees, allowing the technicians to shut her down and wipe her memory. Sylvester thinks they've succeeded, but Felix, unable to harm Maeve, does everything as she requested. With the new protocols, Maeve can now harm humans and demonstrates this to Sylvester, then asks him to heal the wound on his neck. After the updates, Maeve returns to the park to play her role but under the new rules. Testing her abilities, she confirms she can control other androids with her voice. When Hector attacks the town, Maeve shows off her skills to gain the bandits' support. In the evening, park workers discover the problem and try to capture Maeve, but she organizes a shootout and attempts to escape. Maeve suddenly recalls everything about herself and decides not to cling to painful memories, realizing that it's all code created by Dr. Ford. Sizemore creates new characters and works diligently to make the host as realistic as possible. Charlotte disappoints the writer by telling him that Ford won't consider his developments. With Teresa dead and their situation worsening, Dr. Ford creates a new game zone that has no place for Sizemore's hosts. Offering the writer a more profitable partnership, Charlotte asks him to take her to the underground storage of hosts. There, they find Peter, the host who played Dolores' father. His memory is empty, so Charlotte requests that all park data be transferred to him and that a simple storyline be created to allow the android to leave the city unnoticed. The Man in Black and Teddy continue their search for Wyatt and soon find themselves on the right track. They come across a wrecked column with only one girl surviving. Here, they are attacked by one of Wyatt's assistants, a man with a goat-like head. He proves incredibly strong and resilient, so bullets don't affect him. Working together, the Man in Black and Teddy defeat the opponent. At this moment, Teddy begins to remember past lives and realizes that the Man in Black is a villain who has repeatedly wronged Dolores. In the evening, Teddy interrogates the Man in Black and learns his story, including the attack on Maeve and her daughter. Soon after, it turns out that the girl they found is a traitor. She poisons Teddy with an arrow, and they are surrounded by Wyatt's men. Maeve's escape fails, and park workers return her to the lab for diagnostics. Bernard checks her settings and concludes that her program has been radically altered. Fearing potential issues, the scientist tries to contact Dr. Ford, but Maeve stops him. Observing closely, Maeve realizes Bernard is just another host, one she can control with voice commands. She reveals the truth about his identity and then demands to be returned to the park to execute her plan. William, imprisoned by Logan, tries to persuade him to help Dolores escape the game and enter the real world. Despite his friend's plea, Logan refuses to cooperate and tries to reason with William, arguing that he's too caught up in the fantasy and forgetting that hosts are not people. That evening, Logan demonstrates this by cutting open the girl's abdomen, showing the mechanical insides of an early model host. Seizing the opportunity, Dolores grabs a weapon and executes several soldiers before making her escape. William realizes Logan was right and starts to accept the harsh reality that Dolores is part of the game. The next morning, Logan discovers dozens of android bodies, literally torn apart. This destruction was caused by a crazed William, who threatens his friend and is determined to find Dolores at any cost. Seeking the truth about himself, Bernard lowers Ford to one of the underground levels. He has reprogrammed the former Clementine and armed her with a gun to blackmail Ford into revealing the full truth. Clementine threatens Ford with the weapon and follows only Bernard's commands, forcing Ford to comply. Digging into his own information, Bernard uncovers chapters of erased memories and asks Ford to restore them to learn his true identity. Warning of potential consequences, Ford fulfills Bernard's request, causing Bernard to slowly relive the past. Discovering that he was the one who attacked Elsie and ended her life, Bernard regrets what happened but continues to learn more about himself. Returning to the park, Maeve heads into the forest and finds Hector's gang. Speaking with the bandit, she tells him that his life is scripted and demonstrates this. With fragmented memories of their previous encounter, Hector agrees to help Maeve achieve her goals. Before they storm the hell and eliminate those who see themselves as gods, the pair decides to make love and sets fire to their tent to speed up their meeting with the creator. Meanwhile, Ashley discovers a trace of Elsie in the park and goes in search of her. Upon entering the game, he falls into a trap set by uncontrolled host Indians who attack him. Teddy regains consciousness and learns that the true villain was not Wyatt but himself. Unwilling to accept this, the former soldier tries to rebel but is executed in hopes that he will accept this reality in the next simulation. Afterward, the girl reveals that the man in black is close to the maze but is unlikely to get past its guardian, Wyatt, before stunning him. The next morning, the man in black finds himself trapped and nearly hanged by a disobedient horse. Managing to grab a knife and cut the rope, he escapes and meets Charlotte. She asks for help with data import and to vote against Ford, as the man in black is a board member, but he declines. Dolores finds the city from her dreams and heads to the church. Seeing malfunctioning hosts, she discovers an underground lab and rushes there. Hearing Arnold's voice, she finds herself in a glass cube, waiting to meet her creator. At the same time, Bernard continues to recall his past and asks to see the first moments of his existence. Opening the first chapter of his story, Bernard learns that he is Arnold's replica, created by Ford. This revelation drives him mad, as he didn't expect to be a copy of the game's creator and Ford's deceased partner, who became too absorbed in the game and its narratives. Dolores meets Arnold but realizes he's just a part of her memories and a voice in her head. Moreover, she was the one who killed her creator. As she tries to leave the church, she encounters the man in black. Ford admits that Clementine doesn't obey Bernard and that he revealed the truth only because he isn't afraid of the consequences. Remaining the god of this world, Ford orders Bernard to take the gun and pull the trigger as soon as he leaves the room. After her encounter with the man in black, Dolores continues her journey to the center of the maze. She recalls everything from the moment Arnold created her. Meanwhile, William intensifies his search for Dolores, growing increasingly ruthless toward everyone around him. He holds Logan hostage and roams the park, gaining the support of El Lazo and his friends. Completely losing control, William executes anyone who might have useful information about Dolores. His cruelty extends even to Logan, whom he sends on a free-range tour of the park, promising to invest heavily in his development. At the same time, Teddy arrives in the town but recalls past lives and realizes he doesn't belong there. Knowing where to find Dolores, he returns to the train and heads to another part of the park. In her quest for answers, Dolores finds herself at a cemetery where she discovers her own grave. Digging it up, she finds a children's game with a maze symbolizing everything she and the man in black have been searching for. He doesn't understand what's happening and asks to be taken to Wyatt, but that's impossible. Dolores increasingly recalls Arnold's words and learns that transforming hosts into conscious beings was more complex than it initially seemed. At some point, she realizes that Wyatt is not a mysterious criminal but herself. Dolores was the one who, along with Teddy, executed all the old hosts and then killed Arnold so that Ford couldn't take control of the park and realize his vision. The man in black continues to demand to be taken to the center of the maze and admits that he is William, 36 years later. All the events Dolores remembered with William were old memories that kept bringing her back here. He followed her but eventually deemed her useless and began searching for the maze on his own. Finally understanding that Dolores is an integral part of this, he returned to her but still failed to achieve his goal. Losing patience, the older William tries to execute Dolores, but she fights back. Dolores beats the older William and is ready to kill him, but he manages to wound her in return. Teddy arrives on the scene, saves Dolores, and takes her to the sea, leaving the older William empty-handed. Ford finds him there and invites the park's shareholder and owner to a final performance that evening. Meanwhile, Charlotte secures Sizemore's support, promising to make him the lead writer, unaware that things aren't going according to her plan. She later meets with Ford and warns him that the game is over and he will soon be ousted. Ford threatens to destroy everything, but Charlotte doesn't believe that the creator would be so malicious, thinking that he, who lived and breathed the park and its narratives, wouldn't destroy his own creation. At the same time, Maeve alters Hector's and Armistice's settings, making them uncontrollable hosts, with the only person capable of controlling them being Maeve herself. After killing several technicians, Hector and Armistice join Maeve and Felix, helping them find an exit from the park's control center. The quartet heads to the underground facility, where they find Clementine and other hosts. Among them is Bernard's corpse, and Felix helps revive the scientist. Bernard tells Maeve that her escape was programmed by someone and that even her actions are part of someone else's script, not her own choice. Unwilling to believe this, Maeve smashes a tablet and continues to search for a way out of the laboratory. She, Hector, and Armistice turn the park's administration building into a battlefield, taking out the security and technicians in their path. They first have to abandon Armistice, and then Hector is also unable to continue. Maeve receives an address from Felix where the host who played her daughter is located. Maeve boards a train but changes her mind at the last moment and returns to the park to find the girl. That evening, Teddy brings Dolores to the sea, where she falls into an eternal sleep. It turns out that the scene is part of a new performance by Ford for the gathered board members. Later, Ford restores Dolores and reveals the truth about everything happening in the park. It turns out that the Dreams program was not created by him but by Arnold. Arnold had expected quick results, but Ford realized that what could truly help change the hosts was time and the mistakes they made. Knowing about his impending dismissal, Ford returns Dolores' old revolver, the one she used to execute the old hosts and Arnold. Alone, Dolores speaks with Arnold's ghost, only to realize that the voice of her dreams is not the voice of the deceased scientist but her own conscious voice. She has acquired all human qualities, as the key to the puzzle is the brain, which needs time to adapt, form thoughts, and make decisions that inevitably lead to development. Soon, Ford takes the stage and delivers a farewell speech, admitting that he created the final script not for the board of directors or for humans, but for the conscious hosts. He calls them new people, with a future ahead of them, as humans will eventually leave this world, and that moment has come. After this, Dolores approaches Dr. Ford and kills him with a shot to the back of his head. The robots, having left the underground levels and the main areas of the park, attack the humans. Dolores cleanses the world by shooting the board members until her bullets run out. From this moment on, a new era begins, a world ruled by hosts. Where is the line between human and machine? If artificial intelligence can exhibit all human qualities, feelings, emotions, and thoughts, at what point will we stop seeing them as machines and start considering them as individuals? Share your thoughts in the comments down below, give a thumbs up, and subscribe to the channel. See you in